Hi, this is Mike Torsha, and welcome to Live Well and Thrive. I have a very special guest. He's a very dear friend, Jake Brander. I want to welcome you to the show.
Thank you for having me.
You know, I got to say, every time I see you, I'm more impressed. You're like Mr. GQ. You have the perfect colors and combination and the most beautiful watch. Every time I see you, you have a different watch and perfect posture. I mean, you're like a GQ model, man. Do you ever think of being on GQ?
I actually haven't. This is just how I was raised. So
That's
I just
fantastic.
take shape of my parents' guidance in time.
Well, they did a good job. As my mother said, they did good.
Thank
You
you.
know. But anyway, you are a very successful businessman. You were just on the cover of Inc. and a few other magazines for your great success with your company, and also you're a philanthropist, and you're just an overall good guy. You know.
Some would say.
Yeah. And so I wanted to find out, like, what's your driving force? What makes you get up every morning to do what you do?
That's an interesting question because every day I wake up with a sense of urgency. And that sense of urgency is driven by the thought process that there's not a lot of people in this world that can make change or want to make change. So I have like a time, like a ticker in my mind that says you have to get up because time is running out to make change.
And when you make that change, I know you stated with me you want to do something that's going to change the world, that it's going to improve the quality of life. Can you share a little bit about that or how you plan to do that?
Yeah. So the first round of that was to make change in people's lives. So I've mentored a lot of people along the way to starting my company. Then I started the company, and I've mentored even more people throughout that process. And it was always to impact their lives in a positive way in terms of the way they interact with people, the way they do, their jobs, the amount of money they make, and so forth. And then as the company grew and the amount of money I made, increased as well, my mission kind of started to change from individuals that I impact to what can I do on a grand scheme. And you get to this level of higher thinking, almost like, well, in fact, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, when you get to like self-actualization, when it surpasses all of your own needs and you get to the point where you want to help other people. So that has transcended into uh, some worldly missions that are yet to come to fruition. But along the way, the charity and the philanthropy portion of life, after you make your success.
Now, when you say charity, is it your own charity or are the charities that you favor?
So I actually do want to start I wanted to start a foundation last year. It's a lot of work. I don't necessarily have time. So in the last couple of years, we've participated as a company, and personally, I've participated in multiple different charities just to learn how they operate as well, to get an idea, but also to diversify the types of contributions. Not all uh, are related to just like a financial contribution. For instance, I personally did a charity that was involved with, it's called Feed My Starving Children in Arizona, where you actually go to a location and pack meals, and then they ship those meals off to, I think it was maybe like Uganda, or I don't recall the country. So you're physically putting stuff together. Done, uh, another charity called the Phoenix Suit Project, where you donate suits to people who are trying to get back into the workforce and perhaps can't afford a suit. That was kind of a meaningful one to me because I own a lot of suits.
Yeah, whoever gets your suits is a very lucky guy.
Well, it's funny because we put an encouraging note. This was actually my ex-girlfriend's idea. We put an encouraging note into a pocket of each suit that we donated, which
Wow.
apparently had not been done before. So
That's a beautiful thing.
yeah. So we just came up with like our own ideas and put them into each suit that we donated. I think we donated like 10 that year.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. And then Dress for Success, another organization in Arizona. I think it's nationwide, but in Arizona, where we went there and helped pack hygiene kits for women that were whatever come from like bad situations of any kind, and then also help them like with their personal style and how to dress in order to be ready for like to prepare for an interview, basically.
Right. And so now after you do those things, okay, what do you think is the reward to you? Just the fact that you can help make a difference in someone's life? What does it mean to you when you can do all these things?
Well, those particular situations were more based on my contribution of time, which is very limited. And when I take that time to do that, I'm taking away from work, family, friends, personal life, and everything. So that was more for me, uh, and understanding that I can do something that affects somebody one on one. And then there's the donations. We work with an organization called the Swarrows in Arizona, where I've donated decent amounts of money to their charitable organization, which then donates to the Phoenix Children's Hospital. That's another good cause that I'm very happy to be a part of as well.
That's
So
fantastic.
I just try to diversify the way that I give, because if you just give money, I feel like you don't really ever see the difference.
Well, I think the fact that you're actually helping out, like with preparing the meals and actually rolling up your sleeves, says a lot about you, but also can inspire other people to get out there, not just write a check. Anybody can just write a check, but to actually physically go and do something just shows what your intentions are. And that's probably why you've been rewarded by the universe with such great success.
Yeah, I believe in the energy of the universe. I do try to give back. I've been fortunate in life. Not to say that I don't work hard. I think I work harder than anybody that I know. But yeah, it's all about kind of like the balance, and that's what I've been learning over time. It's once you have the financial means, you still don't feel fulfilled. At least I don't. So at that point, I'm like looking for some other challenge or something else to fulfill me, and that's, I think, just innate in me. I'm just looking constantly to do something or to change something or to contribute in some area.
So now how do you balance it knowing that you're always on the go? I know you got your laptop with you and you're always working nonstop no matter where you are.
Yeah.
How do you fit in the workout or the run or whatever you do to stay in shape? Because you look physically fit. So how do you make it all fit in the day?
Yeah, so the that balance shifted over time when the company became successful, and uh, I actually injured myself, which I told you about. I tore my Achilles, so the workout shifted, but it was integral in my day for years. I would try to do it every morning. You get it out of the way. It kind of gives you some natural energy, and while I was doing it, it let me unwind for a minute because my mind is constantly running. So you have to just make time for it, at the very least an hour, I think, a day, 5 days a week is what I was tracking. And it was different types of workouts. It was, aerobics, boxing was a big part of my life for a while until the Achilles got torn. I had to force it because otherwise I would just work nonstop 12 hours a day every day until I was tired and just go to sleep.
Now, what about your meals? Since you work, do you make sure a conscious effort to say, I have to eat a breakfast, a lunch, a dinner, or you miss meals quite a bit?
Oh yeah, yeah. So I was a big believer in two protein shakes a day and like 4 meals when I was younger. I transitioned over time to far less intake of calories and food, and in fact now I usually eat 1 meal a day, at max two, and it's very light. And as your body adapts to the way that you intake, calories and food, it actually uses it for the proper reasons, which is energy, right? It converts it to energy. So I've learned how to live on very little food. So I don't really actually eat most days. Like I'll never eat breakfast, and then I'll eat lunch at like 3. And
Right.
then if I'm still hungry, maybe I'll eat at like 7, again, a small thing, and then I'm done.
Yeah. The body adjusts to it. It goes into survival mode. So if it has to survive on less calories.
Yeah.
It slows down metabolism to adjust to it so you can survive. So that's the natural mechanism. So, and most people are like you that are working hard, can't always say, hey, I got to have this breakfast or this shake or whatever, because sometimes you can be in a meeting for hours or on the phone on a Zoom
Yeah.
and time goes by and the whole day's gone, right? But I know one thing is though, like when you start training to work on that Achilles tendon that was torn, You're going to have to increase your protein because in order to heal rapidly, your body needs a certain amount of protein. Protein is from the Greek word proteus, which means of first importance. So your muscles are stored protein. If you don't take enough protein, it starts cannibalizing the muscle tissue. It liquefies it actually. So when you get into the program with the program that I'm going to have you go with the Transformal Healing Center with Dr. Harari, you're going to have to make sure you have all the ingredients, which is the protein. So if you don't have time for breakfast, make that shake. And if you can, see if when you're on your go to get a sandwich or a salad with tuna or chicken. Because if you have 3 servings of protein a day during the healing process, that'll help you speed up the healing process of the Achilles tendon because they're going to have to break up the scar tissue and it has to rebuild. So you need the protein for those elements to rebuild it. Because think of the food as essential for healing your Achilles tendon. And if you could put that mindset towards it, I think you'll make a conscious effort to have that extra protein.
That's actually the goal now
Yeah.
is to focus on myself. It's
Yeah.
even my injury was 2 years ago. Even after that injury, I focused on the company and then the charity and everything other than me. So this year, the goal in the beginning of the year was to do we called it the Brander Group client tour, where I went and I started visiting all these clients all over the country. And I realized that my Achilles was like burning, it was in a lot of pain. So in the last 2 months, I've shifted my focus to myself, which is, I think I've never done that before.
No, you need to.
Yeah. So now I'm focusing on myself, on my body, my mind. So you're absolutely right. I'm working, I want to say less, but more on my own time now versus constantly being available from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. I'll make time for myself, like I am now, to do things that I find important. Because when you injure yourself seriously, you realize that you're not as superhuman as you thought you were. And if this never heals properly, then what am I doing? Like I have to take care of myself and potentially enjoy life at some point.
Yeah, because what happens, unfortunately, is it's the right foot, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Your gait is off. That means the way you walk is you're shifting the spine incorrectly. The hips are moving differently because you're projecting it.
Absolutely.
So then it's going to create some spasms. All of a sudden, you're going to start feeling tightness in your back. Like, what did I do? And then the spine's out of alignment. And then the hip starts to wear unevenly. Then you can have the hip popping. That's if you let it go and don't focus.
Right.
But you are focusing on it. So you'll adjust it. You'll be back in alignment. Just a little bit of a chiropractic and soft tissue work will be fine. But you're not getting that proper range. And so this leg is not walking. If I was to tape you like with the phone and film you on the treadmill, you're going to see your gait's off.
Oh, for sure.
And now you're walking around all day. Okay. So the spine is twisted incorrectly. So that's how people hurt their spine is simply from a broken toe or something that was lingering and it lasted for a while. And then the spine starts to shift. And that's when you have spinal problems. So that's why I want you to get this addressed now because you're young and you want to go salsa dancing and other stuff and skiing, right? And get back into boxing because you can't put your weight. You can't. That's all the power. Like when I trained with all these martial artists and Bob Wall that trained with Bruce Lee was his training partner. He said it's from the feet, Mike. Putting the weight, putting the hips, so if you don't have that, that's it. Like even when Bruce Lee, then Bob Wall showed me the 2-inch punch, he goes, it's not that. It's, if you watched his hips, it's all down there. But people never watched it. They just saw the fist. But if you watch the torque in his hips, that's where he generated all the power for that 2-inch punch, and you're into the boxing.
Absolutely. So, it all stems, it's like just one rotation and one like energy source. It just goes from the ground up to your fist. But that is the last part of your body that is actually used.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm glad you're going to address it. Now, with your company, what would you say is a typical day at work?
Now, it's changed. The typical day at work was in the office, trying to manage everybody's problems while doing, 5, 6 client calls a day and 500 emails. Now it's different. I'm a little bit more remote because I'm focusing on my foot. I have to be out of the office. Otherwise, I just get back into the same exact rotation of focusing on everybody else other than myself. So now the typical day is I wake up, still fire off, all the emails that need to be done right at like 7 a.m. or 6:30 or whatever. Then I take a quick break, do a little clarity check in life, handle some things that need to be handled in the morning that are personal, then back into, work mode for a while. And then towards the like afternoon part, I'm actually working on uh, my physical, like health. So I've been doing I've been going to see doctors, and I've got MRIs coming up. So I've been focusing on myself probably around 3 hours a day.
Great.
Yeah, which has been kind of not non-existent for the last few years.
So I read in Inc. magazine that with recent times, your business has rapidly grown. What do you think has caused that rapid shift? I mean, there's tremendous amount what you've accomplished. What happened? How did you turn it around within that short period of time to be incredibly, I mean, it says, I don't know, 200 million annually. I think the viewers want to know, what are you doing? How did you turn that around from making X to Y? Do you
Uh,
have any suggestions for people?
yeah. So like I work a lot, and I also have a lot of systems that I put in place and people, right? So it's like systems, people, attitude, and effort. What people don't usually know is that I actually went through some struggles last year or 2 years ago when I injured my Achilles. I had a lot of people quit on me because I was frustrated, and that had to do a lot with, I'm sure, with my injury, right? I was just working through it, and I had a lot of pain that I was kind of keeping deep down inside. The rapid growth has always been there, actually. If you look at our trajectory year over year for the last, well, since we started, it's always been 100% growth year over year over year. Last year, when we hit almost 200, that was actually a dip. The year before, we did more.
Oh, wow.
And that was because we lost half our staff. And then I had to make a fundamental shift of, okay, how do I keep people around? And that was changing my management style, and in fact, changing my management. I was no longer directly managing anybody else. I put other people in charge of people, and then I just did what I do well, which is, like division, large deals, and then managing the people that respond well to my management style, which is a little bit direct. So that caused kind of a shift, I think, in the company's dynamics, but not in revenue, in stability.
Okay, got it. Yeah.
Stability is the most important thing, because at the end of the day, I don't really need the company to make money, right? I can make money by myself. The company is important to me because I'm still influencing other people's lives, right? There's 15, 20 people that rely on our success, and our success is always sitting on my shoulders. So I've been able to shift that weight a little bit by uh, um, uh, uh, basically taking somebody that was an amazing salesperson and turning them into my VP of sales. And he's like incredible at that now. And he's taken a majority of the tasks that were that required human interaction on himself, and he does it better than I do. So I realized that there are people better at managing than I am, and that's a good thing. So now we're working on putting somebody in the operations side, and then that's how we're going to grow. But the stability of the company is paramount to me. It's not
But
about the money.
this is your baby, though. You created this
Yeah,
business.
yeah. I
Wow.
created this sitting in a room 12 hours a day every day for about 8 months.
What happened? Like, did you go, hey, I'll buy used IPs and resell them? And what is that? What hit you? What made you come up with that?
I'd helped build two companies in this industry for about 8 or 9 years. One of them was a data center company. The other one was like a network infrastructure company. And then the network infrastructure company, the CEO decided to sell. Didn't really tell us. I played a pretty key role in that company. So when he sold, I was concerned about life. I was early 30s, and I was just confused, concerned. And the company that bought his company, a publicly traded company, they were courting me and saying to join, and we'll give you this and that. And I said, you know what, I don't want to do that anymore. So I saw a pivotal moment in life. I said, if I'm going to take this journey, it's going to have to happen now. I have really, this is the only time I have to do this. So I started the company not because I wanted to, because I had to. And then I spent months trying to come up with process, procedures, entry points, to customers, the strategy of how do we create value. I mean, there was a lot of different thoughts that went through my mind, and it wasn't always positive. Everybody, it looks easy. And by the way, I gave other people the opportunity to join, and they denied me. They said no, and I was giving them a percentage of the company, and they
Boy, I
said
bet
no.
you ate their words, right?
Oh yeah. There's a lot of them that said no, and it's not like they didn't believe in me because they knew that I've always been successful. They just didn't believe that the idea could come to fruition because it was such a new concept to people, right? But I always knew that I could get it done. I just needed the resources to do it in the time. So I just persevered and continued to work, and sleepless nights, and 4 hours of sleep a night, and it became an overnight success, but it took 9 months to a year to become that.
Right. Well, from watching old videos of Steve Jobs, you remind me of him, a younger version of him, because the way you speak about work ethics and all of that, he was very adamant about that and having goals and so on. So I really could see you being like the next Steve Jobs, man. I really do.
Yeah, Jobs is definitely one of the people I look up to. Mark Cuban, Richard Branson. There are certain characteristics that are innate in everybody that builds something that's world changing, and you got to put everybody else aside, unfortunately, which creates a lot of resentment, enemies, loneliness over time. But it at the end, if you do it and it works, it's worth it, and it's a big risk. And you take that risk knowing that it could end up blowing up in your face.
Well, look what happened with Elon Musk when he bought TikTok. All the flack they gave him. I mean, he took a beam, but he's trying to do good things.
Elon is another one of my idols. He's well spoken. He works harder than anybody else. He never takes his money to an extent that most people would in his position, which is to say, whatever, I'm just gonna just enjoy life. He repurposes it.
Yeah.
And that's what I attempt to do as much as possible within reason, right? Because
Right.
there's always the company, and the company is very important to me. But when I want to change the world, the company doesn't necessarily change the world. It changes our customers' experiences tremendously. Our customers absolutely love us because of our care and what we put into each customer's order and so forth. Changes the employees' lives. But for me to make significant change, I have to make sure the company is well positioned to do well without my constant interaction. And then the next phase will be likely AI or space travel. Those are the only two industries I believe need somebody that has critical thinking mass. And I happen to be that arrogant that I think that or that crazy that I think I can actually contribute in that department.
Hey, it's okay to think big. I've always thought big, and it worked for me in different ways. But I want to make a correction about Elon Musk. It was Twitter that he acquired, but I was told that Elon and Steve Mnuchin, who's a friend of mine, is considering to buy TikTok. They're waiting to see what's going on with the government, because then I think that'd be something that would be their next step to move into. But I really think, as you touched on with AI, that's, to me, it's like a superpower. It could be used for good or evil. And that's why we have to have some kind of guidelines,
Yeah.
because if we don't, and people will lose jobs, and a lot of things will happen in our country, which I don't think would be a positive.
Well, it's beyond that. I think I would be working on a countermeasure for AI.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, AI has a lot of positive attributes, but at some point, AI will do something terrible, and I want to build something to preemptively protect against that. Terminator 2, the uprising of the machines. that's what we're going towards. Nobody really understands that.
Yeah. In fact, I'm working on a movie with Kia Jam. There's a series of books called Bot Wars, and Bot Wars is about how AI could take over the world.
Yeah.
And I'll send you the trailer we shot. It actually shows how AI does take over the world.
Yeah, that's not fiction, or
Yeah.
that's fiction, or gosh, whichever one is real. That's
Yeah, no,
nonfiction.
that's nonfiction.
That's nonfiction. That will happen, and Elon even mentions that
I
actually.
remember that. Yeah.
So there's very few people that can fathom that, understand that, and also work through the problem-solving process of how do we prevent against it if and when it does happen.
I mean, look how people have, like, even with my phone, it knows when I'm going to my gym. It knows when I'm going to lunch. And I didn't even
Yeah.
think, I must have mentioned it somewhere, but my phone tells me how many minutes to the restaurant, and I didn't put it in the map at all. So it's kind of crazy. I get nervous about talking around my phone.
Yeah, that's a whole other
data
story.
collection too. Isn't that another thing we should be concerned about, that people are now getting with, whether it's Facebook or any of these things, are taking our data, our information, our habits, what we buy, what we search for?
Yeah. The ads on these social platforms are nothing compared to the data that they gather, which is sold for far more because it gives you so much information about our habits. I don't even want to mention it because I don't want to be targeted by the big boys, but you notice it, right? Whenever you say something, it already knows. There's a lot of chatter about that, and the regulatory, like the regulations against doing that versus allowing it to happen with a blind eye in a sense. But yeah, they hear everything. Everybody hears everything at this point, and it's just a matter of how they use it, when they use it, and if it's going to be used against you at some point.
Yeah, I know. I'm very close with the director of Homeland Security, and he said, "Mike, your phone could be completely shut off, and we could still hear you. And if there's anything, like, you might say that you want to hurt the president, you're going to have someone knock on your door. It could be in a conversation, it could be in a text message. I mean, there's nowhere safe. They're listening to everything, recording information with conversations we have, especially with anything on cellular." And so I was like, wow, I didn't even know that. I won't even joke around anymore.
Yeah.
Because I'm not crazy about Biden, so I'm going to stop saying those comments on the phone.
It's a reality check. I have the privilege of speaking with C-level executives of world-leading organizations that run internet, cloud, hosting, everything. And I speak with them on a monthly basis at a minimum. And I understand exactly what's going on constantly. But a lot of it I have to kind of keep to myself. So it just sticks in my brain.
In about 2 weeks, I have a gentleman. He's a scientist. He was part of the team that created Watson for IBM.
Oh, wow.
He also is the director that oversees AI for the United Nations. I think you should come that day when he comes in,
Oh, I'd
because he
love
said,
that.
"I have some things to tell you, Mike. It's going to blow your mind about AI."
I'll just sit down and listen and get some popcorn.
Yeah, really. No, because he wants to come on, because he responded. He was watching my show and I touched on AI, and he goes, "I saw what you talked about with Ron Perlman. I need to come on." People don't really know the capability of AI, and that's why he's the director for the UN for everything around the world. He's helping them give direction, what not to do and what to do. So I think maybe you guys might be able to do something together. I mean, he's a brilliant man. Brilliant.
Yeah, I would love to be present for that podcast. Absolutely.
Yeah. But I think you'll get to like him too. He's a solid guy, He's just a really smart guy, and he's so concerned about what's going on in the world with AI. And you're right, it's something that we really have to be careful about. It's like a nuclear bomb if not used correctly.
Exactly. Yeah, the nuclear bomb was created by mistake, I believe, and then
right.
and it became a weapon, right? AI is already weaponized, but we just don't, as humans, don't understand that, or as normal people. But it concerns me constantly, and I want to get on that project so badly. But once again, there's other priorities at the moment that are current priorities.
So, do you feel you're going to stick with your company for a period of time and then sell it and then shift over to something new with the AI and other things you want to do?
No, I don't think the company ever requires a sale or an infusion of cash. It's a consulting firm. It grows at the rate that it grows. We have customers that are with us forever. We continue to help them build network, move to the cloud, network security, data center, whatever their needs are. Um, it's there's no reason to ever sell it, nor do I need the cash to sell it. I prefer to build something that will kind of last forever, and and kind of have that legacy, and also just be able to impact people's lives without my interaction at some point. But I will always be involved at some level, and just like every other
Right.
CEO
Yeah.
that's ever had a company,
Sure.
they're always doing something. Um, so I think the company will be self-sufficient. It is self-sufficient actually, but it will be far more self-sufficient to the point where I can actually work on one other project, and however long it takes, that's how long it takes. But I can't ever put this company on the side because it is my baby at the end of
Yeah.
the day.
No, that's great. Well, I want to thank you for coming on today. I mean, it was really, really interesting to learn about your life story, your journey, your great success, and your philosophical ways of with life and giving back to the people of need. It just says a lot about who you are, and that's why we've become good friends. So thank you.
I appreciate it.
Mike Torsia signing off for Live Well and Thrive. And please remember, subscribe. We need your support. Thank you. That was fun. Hey, thanks for watching this episode. Got great news. The merch is ready. You're going to see an array of all kinds of great products. Go to operationfitness.com. If you want to order anything, click on my store. Thanks for your support.